welcome to my first video. This video is going to be about how to build a grain bin for any scale model railroad on the cheap from paper and styrene. These things sell for about 30 bucks, so I'm too cheap to pay 30 bucks, so I'm going to make one out of paper and plastic. My basic tube that I'm going to start with is just a piece of packaging tube. Cut it on the miter saw. You can see the miter saw left some fuzzy edges on it. Just took a piece of 120 sandpaper and cleaned those up. See this glue line? This was rescued from another project. But the glue line's not going to show because it'll be on the back side. I took that 120 sandpaper, cleaned it up, and I ended up with this. Nice and clean, and you can see with the miter saw that the edges are nice and square. First thing we're going to do is make a roof to go on top. The roof is going to be made out of regular matte photo paper. HP photo paper, any photo paper. It's just stiff paper. I have it. I don't have to buy cardstock. It's cheap. It's here. I'm using it. What we're going to do is we're going to cut a disc out of a piece of paper. Then we're going to fold the disc to make it a cone, and then we're going to mark that for the ribs for the roof. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to cut out our disc. Now what I did was, to make the disc, you can see that I've got my compass set for just a little bit larger than the diameter of the, of the radius of the tube, so that it overhangs a little bit. Now this is a guesstimation. I guessed right this time, but after all, if you screw up and you don't like it, you can always make another one. It's just paper. But this radius works. It's a 3-inch tube. I added a 1/4 inch, so I'm going to use a 1 3/4 inch radius, which is a 1/4 inch more than the diameter, to make my circle. So I'm just going to start with my compass and draw my circle. Once I got the circle drawn, I have a pair of curved scissors that I like to use. These are made for cutting car bodies for radio controlled cars, and they're really great for cutting circles because they don't leave any flat spots. So what I'm going to do is come in from the side, sneak up on my circle, and then I'm going to start around my circle. Okay, there's our circle. Once we got our circle cut, we are going to take our ruler and, yeah, see, I got a couple. You can tell that's not a perfect circle, but that's okay. I'm going to take my ruler, put the ruler right across the center and out to the edge, and I'm going to make one nice sharp cut from the center to the edge. And now you can see, if I fold this like this, my flat sheet starts to turn into a cone. And the more I close it up, the steeper it gets, but the smaller the diameter gets. So you kind of had to find a compromise for what you like and what you think looks good. I want to go, I'll hold it up against my sample. That's not quite high enough. About there. And then I'm going to hold it down where I want it. And I'm going to mark it. There's my glue line. Now I sized this thing so it was close to the prototype that I was modeling, of course. But I also sized it so that I would be able to get 2 wrappers that go around out of 1 sheet of styrene. So I don't have to buy 3 sheets of styrene. It costs 15 bucks to buy the styrene. Here I only have to buy 1.5, or maybe only 1 depending on how I wrap it. There's the fold marked. Now what I'm going to do is I want to see if it looks good. So I'm going to use a little trick. I'm going to go around here and put on the fold line. I'm going to put a paper clip on it just to hold it. All the paper clip is going to do is hold it in place while I set my roof on. And I'm going to try to very carefully, as you can see, center the roof up and see how much overhang I've got. And I really like that amount of overhang. The wrapper that goes around it is 40 thousandths thick, so it's going to add a little bit of thickness to the tube, and then I'll have just a little bit of overhang. So I like that. What I'm going to do is leave my paper clip right in place, and then I'm going to use hot super glue, thin super glue that I bought at the dollar store. Comes 3 tubes for $1. I buy it $5 at a time, and I put them in the fridge until I need them. They work fine, they don't cost too much money, and if I ruin one, I throw it away. Works just as well as any other glue I've tried. So here I'm going to take and just slam a generous amount down there, and I'm going to come back with a little piece of paper and tease the paper down into the joint to make sure it grabs. That's from the inside, and then from the outside here. Now, you notice it's open. I want to close that down, make it nice and smooth. So I'm going to take right where I just glued, and I'm going to go over the top, press that down nice, and then over here you'll see that the gap is starting to close up. So I want to make sure that I get a nice fold right on top. That's much better. I'm going to take the glue, and I'm going to come back, and I'm going to do the same rip right down there. And I realize that's a ton of glue, but the glue is cheap, and I don't care. I want it to hold. Actually, I didn't do a very good job on that. There we go. Now the glue's flowing. And you'll notice I do wipe super glue with my finger, as long as it moves fast. It doesn't get stuck, and if you do get super glue like there, it's stuck. I can just take that off with sandpaper when I'm done. It doesn't bother me. Got a little glue spot there. There. Anyway, that's glued. Take your paper clip off. Now when you take your paper clip off, you'll notice that right here where the seam overlaps, there's 2 edges. I want to pretty that up a little bit. So I'm going to come back here with my pair of scissors, and I'm going to follow the top layer very carefully around and blend it in. That looks pretty good, and I can't get any tighter with my scissors, so I'm going to go to my straight scissors. Okay, that's the basic shape for our roof. Now, as soon as you've got the roof shaped pretty much the way you want it, don't worry about how it's not being flat or being curved or misshapen, because when you glue it down, it'll flatten it out. See, it flattens out nice. So I'm going to come back, I'm going to test fit again, turn it over, and I'm going to see just how well it fits right in the middle. And that, you can see, looks pretty good. I like the angle. The amount of overhang might be a little bit too much, but right now it doesn't bother me. Now, you'll be able to find this at Flickr. I always put the seam at the back, so I'm going to start with the seam. What you do is you use the circles that are printed on the page to line up your roof, whatever size it is, as best you can. That's just about in the center. And then I'm going to use these radial marks that I made, and I'm going to tick off going around for the locations of the standing seams in the roof. There. Now's the seam. There's all the seam locations marked. Now, this one is the first one I always do back here at the back. And I always put the seam on the line because we're going to hide that seam. And I'll show you how we're going to do that. My standing seams are made of 40 by 10 thousandths styrene, just a little piece. And what you do is we're going to take it and place it up against the edge of the top piece of paper. You really can't tell that there's a seam there. It hides it pretty well. So what I'm going to do is see if I can do it without gluing my mouth shut. There we go. Now the very tip top is not critical because it's going to be covered up by the top part of the structure. I try to get it as close to the top as I can and get it nice and tight up against the piece below. And then I'm going to put a drop of glue right in there, push it up snug with my fingernail, and that should, well, of course, it glued it to my fingernail. Let's try again. Put it right in there. Maybe there's still some glue there. Nope, there's not. Let's try this. Let's try putting the super glue on the plastic. And now this isn't going exactly how I want, but that's what I want you to see. I want you to see how, as you go, you improvise. It's just a piece of paper and a piece of plastic. Unlike me, nobody can see you. If you make a mistake, just try again. If you screw up 10 times, it doesn't matter. As long as you get it right in the end, and it looks good, that's all that matters. Okay, that's going a little better. And this time, instead of using my fingernail to push it up there, I'm going to use something else, just a pair of scissors or I don't know, whatever you got handy, to make sure that it ends up glued the way I want it. There, you can see that time it worked perfect. Now the plastic's a little loose down this way, so to fix it the rest of the way, I'm going to run my glue down that edge just a little bit. Okay, now just to make sure that it's nice and snug, and I'm going to come back with my ruler just to press it right there. Oh wait, it's sticking up a little bit. There we go. Now you can see why I'm not going to do all of these on camera, because they're a little bit finicky. But there's our first roof rib. I'm going to use my tape measure, and I'm going to put the edge up like that so it's supported when I cut. And I'm not going to cut this way. I want to cut so that I'm 90 degrees to the roof with the knife. Get it right in place, nip it off. There's our first roof rib. Now you got 16 more to go, but you can see that's starting to look like a grain bin. If you get a little glue on there, don't worry, because we're going to spray paint it. We're going to put some silver on there later, and the silver will help hide some of the glue spots. It'll just look like weathered metal or oxidation. So go ahead and put the other 17 ribs on, and we'll be back in part 2 to continue. Thanks for watching.